Have you ever felt completely lost, confused, or even betrayed by a woman's sudden emotional shifts? Have you found yourself repeatedly drawn to relationships that follow the same painful patterns, leaving you wondering what invisible forces are at work? Today, you're about to discover the hidden archetypal forces Carl Jung uncovered that silently drive women's deepest emotional behaviors, and how understanding them can finally bring you clarity. The pain you feel in relationships isn't random. When you find yourself bewildered by her emotional responses, when you can't comprehend why she seems to transform before your eyes from nurturing goddess to distant stranger, you're experiencing the powerful influence of feminine archetypes operating beneath the surface of consciousness. This confusion costs you, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. It keeps you trapped in cycles of frustration, unable to form the deep, meaningful connections you truly desire. But there is a solution. By understanding the feminine archetypes that Jung illuminated through his analytical psychology, you can finally see beneath the surface behaviors that have confounded you. This knowledge isn't just theoretical, it's transformative. It will allow you to recognize the archetypal patterns playing out in your relationships, giving you the perspective to respond with wisdom rather than reaction. Today, we'll explore these hidden dimensions of the feminine psyche, revealing how they shape the emotional landscape of the women in your life. Before we dive deeper, you need to understand the fundamental concepts that Jung brought to our understanding of the human psyche, particularly the feminine aspects that influence relationships so profoundly. At the core of Jung's psychology is the concept of the collective unconscious, a deep reservoir of shared human experience that transcends individual lives. Within this collective unconscious reside archetypes, universal patterns and images that represent fundamental human experiences and roles. These archetypes aren't just abstract concepts. They're living psychological forces that shape behavior, emotions, and perceptions. For women, several primary archetypes exert particularly powerful influences. When you interact with a woman, you're not just engaging with her conscious personality. You're engaging with these archetypal energies that may be operating through her, often without her conscious awareness. The first archetype you need to understand is the mother. This is perhaps the most fundamental feminine archetype, representing nurturing, protection, and unconditional love, but also possessiveness and the potential to devour or smother. When you experience a woman's nurturing warmth that suddenly transforms into controlling behavior, you're witnessing the mother archetype in its dual aspects. This explains why you might feel simultaneously drawn to and suffocated by her caring attention. You've likely encountered this in relationships where you initially felt completely accepted and supported, only to later feel that this same nurturing energy had become stifling. This isn't personal betrayal. It's the natural polarity of the mother archetype expressing itself. Next is the maiden, representing youthful vitality, innocence, potential, and the capacity for growth and transformation. This archetype embodies curiosity, spontaneity, and openness to experience. When a woman in your life displays childlike wonder and joy one moment, then inexplicable vulnerability and fear the next, you're witnessing the maiden archetype in action. This explains the sometimes disorienting experience of being with someone who seems to fluctuate between bold confidence and sudden insecurity. The third critical archetype is the wise woman or crone. This represents intuitive wisdom, truth-telling, and connection to deeper realities beyond conventional understanding. When a woman in your life seems to know things without being told, when she cuts through your defenses with unexpected insight, or when she makes decisions based on intuition rather than linear reasoning, you're experiencing the wise woman archetype. This can feel both profoundly connecting and deeply unsettling, as this archetypal energy often bypasses logical defenses and speaks directly to unconscious truths. Then there's the seductress or lover archetype, representing passion, desire, sensuality, and the transformative power of intimate connection. This isn't merely about sexuality. It's about the feminine capacity to inspire, to awaken creative energy, and to initiate profound transformation through connection. When you feel mysteriously drawn to a woman beyond physical attraction, when her presence seems to awaken something dormant within you, You're experiencing the seductress archetype. This explains why certain relationships feel not just emotionally or physically satisfying, but somehow spiritually significant or transformative. Beyond these primary archetypes lies the concept of the shadow, those aspects of the feminine that have been rejected, repressed, or denied expression in the cultural consciousness. The feminine shadow contains powerful energies: rage, destructiveness, manipulation, and raw ambition that don't fit neatly into conventional expectations of femininity. When a woman in your life suddenly displays unexpected anger, seeming irrationality, or behaviors that appear calculated to wound, you're often witnessing shadow elements emerging. Understanding these shadow aspects is crucial because they often emerge in intimate relationships precisely because such relationships create the safety for these repressed elements to surface. What you perceive as a personal attack is frequently the emergence of long-suppressed feminine energies seeking expression and integration. Now, how do these archetypes actually influence everyday behaviors in relationships? Consider a common scenario. You're in a relationship where initially, your partner is nurturing, attentive, and emotionally available, mother archetype in its positive aspect. As the relationship deepens, she becomes increasingly critical of your independence, perhaps expressing jealousy or attempting to control your activities, mother archetype in its possessive aspect. Simultaneously, she may alternate between passionate engagement, lover archetype, and mysterious emotional withdrawal, shadow aspects. During conflicts, she might display an uncanny ability to identify your deepest insecurities with laser precision, wise woman archetype. These seemingly contradictory behaviors aren't evidence of manipulation or instability. They're different archetypal energies moving through her psyche, often in response to the emotional dynamics between you. Another example, perhaps you've experienced relationships that begin with playful, spontaneous connection, maiden archetype, that gradually transforms into a pattern where your partner seems to intuitively sense your emotional state before you've communicated it, wise woman, followed by periods of intense emotional depth alternating with puzzling distance, shadow elements. These patterns reflect the constellation of different archetypal energies expressing themselves through her conscious personality. It's crucial to understand that these archetypes aren't fixed identities. They're fluid energies that move through the feminine psyche in response to life circumstances, relationship dynamics, and inner development. A woman might predominantly express one archetypal energy in her professional life, another with her children, and yet another in intimate partnership. These aren't masks or false personas. They're authentic expressions of different aspects of the feminine psyche responding to different contexts. For you, recognizing these archetypal patterns transforms your experience of relationship. What once seemed like inexplicable emotional shifts becomes recognizable as the movement between different archetypal energies. What felt like personal rejection can be understood as the natural rhythm of archetypal expression. This doesn't mean dismissing genuine interpersonal issues, but rather developing a deeper understanding of the powerful unconscious forces at play in your connections. Now we arrive at the most profound revelation in Jung's understanding of the masculine-feminine dynamic, one that will transform how you perceive every significant relationship in your life. This is the concept of the anima, and it holds the key to understanding why certain women affect you so powerfully, why relationship patterns repeat despite your best intentions, and why emotional entanglements can feel so overwhelming. The anima is not just another archetype, it is your soul image. It is the unconscious feminine aspect within your own masculine psyche. Every man carries this internal feminine counterpart, shaped by your earliest experiences with feminine figures, mother, sisters, caregivers, and further molded by cultural images of the feminine. This internal feminine image acts as a filter through which you perceive, interpret, and respond to the women in your life. Here's the revelation that changes everything. When you feel inexplicably drawn to a particular woman, when you experience that powerful, almost magnetic attraction that seems to bypass reason, you are often projecting your anima onto her. You are not seeing her as she truly is. You are seeing your own soul image reflected back to you. This projection happens unconsciously and with tremendous emotional force. It explains why certain relationships feel destined or fated, why specific women seem to possess an almost magical quality that others don't, and why the emotional wounds in intimate relationships can cut so deeply. When a woman seems to embody your anima projection, the relationship takes on an archetypal dimension. It no longer feels like just a personal connection, but something profound, spiritual, even cosmic in significance. But here lies the source of the most painful relationship dynamics you've experienced. No actual woman can permanently sustain your anima projection. She is a real, complex human being with her own archetypal energies and individual psychology, not the perfect carrier for your soul image. Inevitably, the moments come when she fails to match the unconscious ideal, when her human limitations or different desires become apparent. These are the moments of profound disillusionment that can trigger devastating emotional responses. The pain you feel in these moments of disillusionment isn't merely disappointment. It's the existential distress of having your soul image, which you've projected outward, seemingly rejected or destroyed. This explains the intensity of emotional suffering in relationship disappointments, the seemingly disproportionate grief of certain breakups, and the compulsive attempts to recapture what feels lost when a relationship ends. This dynamic creates a painful paradox in your emotional life. The very women who most powerfully attract you, those who most closely match your anima image, are also those with whom you're likely to experience the most profound disappointment and conflict. This is because the closer someone seems to embody your soul image, the more devastating it is when the inevitable human differences emerge. Consider how this plays out in your relationships. Perhaps you've been powerfully drawn to women who embody certain qualities, perhaps ethereal beauty, emotional depth, creative spirit, or nurturing presence. These attractions aren't random. They reflect aspects of your own anima seeking recognition and integration. The women who possess these qualities seem to glow with special significance in your perception. Initially, the relationship feels transcendent, as if you've finally found what you've always been seeking. You may experience a sense of completeness, of coming home. But then the natural human limitations appear. She has needs, desires, and aspects of her personality that don't match your unconscious expectation. What follows is often a painful cycle of trying to recapture the initial magic, of attempting to mold the relationship back into alignment with your anima projection, or of becoming increasingly critical of the ways she fails to embody your soul image. This cycle explains why you might find yourself repeatedly drawn to similar types of women, despite negative experiences. Why certain relationship patterns persist despite your conscious intentions to change them, and why emotional entanglements can feel so impossibly complex and painful. The most profound impact of this unconscious dynamic is that it prevents genuine relationship. As long as you're relating to your anima projection rather than the actual woman before you, authentic connection remains impossible. You're loving an image, not a person. She senses this, consciously or unconsciously, and responds to the subtle rejection inherent in not being seen for who she truly is. This creates a painful cycle where both partners feel simultaneously idealized and unseen, special and yet somehow invisible in their authentic humanity. The transformation comes when you begin the difficult work of recognizing and withdrawing these projections. This doesn't mean no longer appreciating the feminine qualities that attract you. It means recognizing them as reflections of aspects within yourself that seek integration. It means developing a relationship with your own inner feminine, rather than seeking it exclusively through projection onto others. As you begin this integration process, your relationships transform. You become capable of seeing women as they actually are, complex, multidimensional beings with their own archetypal journeys, rather than as carriers of your soul image. This is the foundation of authentic love, the capacity to see and appreciate another in their full reality, beyond the distorting lens of projection. Now that you've glimpsed the profound archetypal forces shaping your emotional connections with women, how will you use this knowledge to transform your relationships and your inner life? The journey begins with honest self-reflection. Consider the women who have most powerfully attracted you throughout your life. What qualities did they share? What did they awaken in you? These patterns reveal the shape of your anima, the soul image seeking recognition and integration within your own psyche. This isn't about blaming yourself for past relationship difficulties. It's about developing the awareness that creates the possibility for change. The next step is consciously engaging with these feminine aspects within yourself. What qualities have you projected outward, rather than embracing as parts of your own psychological makeup? Perhaps it's emotional sensitivity, intuitive understanding, creative expression, or nurturing capacity. As you begin to recognize and develop these qualities within yourself, the compulsive need to find them exclusively through projection onto others diminishes. This doesn't mean becoming less masculine, it means becoming more whole. In your current and future relationships, practice the discipline of asking, am I seeing the actual person before me, or am I seeing my anima projection? When conflicts arise, consider whether you're responding to the real situation or to a threatened disruption of your soul image projection. This level of self-awareness transforms how you experience and navigate relationship challenges. Remember that the women in your life are on their own archetypal journeys, engaging with their own internal masculine image, the animus, and the constellation of feminine archetypes we've explored. When you witness behaviors that seem contradictory or confusing, consider the archetypal energies that might be expressing themselves. This perspective brings compassion and understanding to situations that might otherwise trigger judgment or reactivity. The ultimate promise of Jung's insights isn't just better relationships with others, it's a more integrated relationship with yourself. As you recognize and withdraw projections, as you develop a conscious relationship with your own inner feminine, you become less dependent on external validation and more centered in your authentic being. Relationships become opportunities for mutual growth rather than unconscious archetypal enactments. This journey isn't easy or quick. It requires sustained attention, courageous self-examination, and the willingness to challenge deeply ingrained patterns. But the rewards are profound. Greater emotional freedom, authentic connection, and the capacity to love others for who they truly are, rather than for the unconscious needs they seem to fulfill. How has this exploration of Jungian archetypes illuminated your own relationship experiences? Have you recognized patterns of projection and unconscious attraction in your life? Share your personal journey in the comments below. Your experience may provide valuable insight for others on similar paths. If this deeper exploration of the feminine archetypes and their impact on your emotional life has resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to continue this journey of psychological understanding. Our previous videos explore other dimensions of Jungian psychology that complement today's insights. Don't miss them if you're committed to transforming your emotional life through greater self-awareness. Remember, the greatest relationship wisdom doesn't come from controlling or understanding others. It comes from knowing yourself. The archetypes we've explored today aren't abstract concepts. They're living psychological realities shaping your experience in every moment. As Jung himself said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Today, you've taken an important step toward consciousness, toward choice rather than compulsion, toward authentic love rather than archetypal projection.